Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. There was another update to the dev server, and this one added a bunch of really cool stuff. To be honest with you, I wouldn't actually be surprised if the update actually came out on the 19th, since the dev server is closing on the 18th. This type of update to the dev server is usually one which is similar to the last update we get before an update actually goes live. They added some camouflages and they added a bunch of other stuff that we'll cover in this video. So as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get into it. So number one is they actually have added a bunch of stuff to the F2. So this isn't just the F2A, it's also the ADTW, which is the premium version. They added the parachute to both vehicles, so now they actually function, which is really cool. And at the same time, they changed the JAAQ on the ADTW. So the JAAQ is the targeting pod that this thing has access to. You can see it right here on the setup. It would be nice if they actually changed the camo for it with the ADTW. It kind of stands out weirdly, but basically the horizontal limits were minus 30 to 30. They're now minus 30 to minus 90 to 30. So a massive improvement on the actual targeting pod when it comes to seeing stuff. Another thing to also mention is there is now in the file a unused image, which is actually a dual-mounted setup for the AS-1 anti-ship missile. So you might actually see two of these missiles on a pylon. Don't entirely know how that's going to work, but it's kind of interesting to at least think about. There was also a bunch of little changes for USSR vehicles. For example, in the Blue Water fleet, they realized that there's only 3 vehicles at rank 6, so you could literally not get access to the Sovietsky Soyuz. Now you are able to, because they've changed the rank requirement to 3. So you'll have to research all 3 vehicles, but at least you'll be able to do it in order to get to the Soyuz. Before, you had to buy the Sevastopol in order to grind through this. So luckily, they fixed that. Another little change is to some of the aircraft. So for example, the I-153P Chaika, which is a fun vehicle, especially in arcade. The WEP boost that this vehicle gets for its engine, the Shvedstov M62, instead of it being 120%, is now 121.9, so the WEP actually gives you more boost than it did previously. The MiG-21 F-13 as well, which is kind of one of the forgotten MiG-21s because of its limited armament, this one actually had its wing rip speed increased, so previously it was 1,260 kilometers an hour, now it is 1,312, which will be way nicer to actually be. Another vehicle that has also changed is the Su-2 M82. This is a strike aircraft. This is the AM-42. Then you have the M71, but the Su-6 AM-42, I'm pretty sure it's this one, or it might be maybe a different one, but basically the engine on this is the M71. So yeah, it's a different one. It's whichever one has the M82 engine. Because there's so many of them, but basically that one, which has that engine, what has ended up, they've reduced its idle RPM, and also they added 1 load of FPE, which is kind of fun. They did the same thing to the Su-2 M88 and also Su-2 TSS. So all of those vehicles, I was looking at the Su-6s, I'm such a moron. It's these ones right here, these ones right here. So yeah, they reduced the RPM on the engine and they added an FPE, so therefore the EFS will be able to be used, so that's kind of cool. Then they have modified the Hueys again. You remember how they added some updated models to the Hueys? So unfortunately, they've actually removed some stuff from it. Basically, the MFD hood module has been removed, so it isn't as kind of there as it was before. My guess is they were probably like, well, it doesn't really need it, so it's just gone. So that isn't just for the Hueys, that's also for the AB205, which was the new Italian updated Model 2 that has turned up. The Z10, they've actually done a bunch of fixes to this, including the damage model for it. So basically, the thing about the Z10, the tail didn't break off where it was supposed to, so now they've actually fixed it. And also, there's supposedly a gunner sight fix for the Z10s too. There was a problem with it before. but who knows? But now it's ready to go. Another vehicle that has also been changed quite a lot is the new vehicle for Germany, the Swiss aircraft that is coming in, the C3604. What they've actually done is given it its camouflage, and isn't that beautiful? Don't you love that? That is just amazing. Really enjoy this camo. I think it just looks really nice. For some reason, I don't think it's fully finished yet, though. Like, you can see, like, it looks a little bit too dapper. It looks like a model kit plane. Doesn't actually look like a plane. Like, it doesn't have any kind of, degradation or anything like that. But yeah, they've added this in. And also, at the same time, they added a bunch of new modifications. So basically, the modifications for the guns to make them more accurate. And then also the 7mm turret has turned up too. They've also added some new belts, so you have 2 sets of 20mm now. Basically, this has 2 sets of different 20mm guns. You have the FMK HS45 and then the FFK HS45. So one of the 20mm belts is for one of them, and it pens up to 39mm for AP, and then the other one pens 41mm. So I'm not sure entirely which guns these are in terms of like the way that they're set up, but now they're seen as different ones. So yeah, they have different amounts of ammo as well, and also will have different capabilities. So very much interesting to see. You can see one of them has a 780 rounds per minute fire rate, and the other one has 750 rounds per minute. So slight differences. But the main thing is this thing is pretty much ready to go. It looks really cool. I'm glad that they've made these changes. Now, talking about changes, earlier we talked about in the dev blog about the Saab F-35, and the moment I talk about it, they change it. So pretty classic, standard stuff. First of all, this vehicle is getting more countermeasures. So instead of the 12, which is just kind of back here, it is also getting a few more. So it's getting access to 24 large caliber countermeasures and then 44 chaff countermeasures. So this one has actually massively improved in terms of its defensive capabilities compared to all of the other kind of Drakens that exist. Another thing that's also changed, though, is the bomb loadouts. So you can see you can actually bring more of them now. You can replace the missiles, if you want to, and you can bring even more of them. So you can bring 9 1,000-pound bombs, or just 9 bombs in general, and then also you can take 9 sets of rockets if you want. So you can straight up use this thing as a rocket launcher. You can see those 3 sets of rockets in the middle just look crazy. And remember, this thing actually has CCIPs, it has CCRP, it has all of the general things you would want. I still think it's probably better to take missiles, but at least now you have the option. If you don't want to, you can actually bring in some other stuff. So that's pretty cool that they've given this vehicle a bit more ability. Just to kind of show you what it has, you can see here CCIP for everything and CCRP. So those bombs will be very accurate, and so will the rockets. And also it has the 2 guns to try and help it out too. Another thing to also note about the Chinese helicopters, the Z-10ME, they've actually changed the amount of countermeasures that this thing gets access to. So this vehicle did have 96 split countermeasures. Now it has 120. So basically it just gets a little bit more. You can see like the little countermeasure pods on the side here. It's kind of interesting how they just like stick out the side of a vehicle. You can also see the actual sensors which are modeled here. They did say on the dev blog, like here are the other sensors. They did say that this thing will get access to the DIRCM, which basically will be able to stop a lot of IR missiles coming in, basically confuse them. Like you can see the sensors that it has on the side. We'll have to see how that works. It'll probably be very hard to lock onto this with any type of IR missile. Another thing to also note while we're here is they actually added in a new map parameter, and it's the minimum distance between human spawns is 10 meters. So it looks like there may have been a few issues in the past with people spawning too close, which is fair. That has happened for a while. What's really funny is they've actually taken the M551 and they've massively reduced its repair time, but not in a way that would make sense to the average person. So you know how the Sheridan, there's the standard Sheridan, which is this one, and then there's the football Sheridan, which is the boosted one, which you don't get access to in standard games, but you can get the camos if you play the tank football events. So basically, the max field repair time of this was 10,000 seconds for some reason. Now it's 166. So they've massively reduced it. And then also the M18, the racing version, which is used in the Halloween events, is the same. So instead of 6,666, which is what it was before, it is now 134 seconds. A lot of high-tier radars, basically every single high-tier radar you can think of in the game, got some fix to it. So it now is much better at separating air and ground modes to it, which I think is really cool. And then also pretty much all of the AAs that have like radars and stuff like that, so stuff like the M247, for example, now have that kind of like radar mode, which we've kind of shown on other things. So you see here it has this, it's now attached to a button. So unfortunately, the button is attached to my artillery at the same time. Very cool. But you can see here, this is the Sergeant York, right? And it actually shows you the sight view of what's going on. So if I click this, it actually shows me where it's kind of aiming for. And I can actually shoot at it from this mode, which is pretty nuts. I generally think like it's kind of cool. And then also, if you want to, you can like click all the buttons, and then it kind of shows you in the sight view like what you're seeing, and you can actually like activate it from here. Now the auto aim is not very good, at least on the guns. Like it should be hitting this every time, but at the same time it's pretty awesome how like this is set up. So just to kind of show you how it works with like, you know, one of the bigger launchers, because obviously that's where people are going to use it more. Once again, as I said, this is like very RTS-y and how it's all set up. So whoops, just knocked off my headset there. There you go. So just to show you how it is on the IRIST SLM. So you have the azimuth, you have the search that you can click, all the different ones. You can change the search mode. So you can, you know, activate it and not activate it. And then basically you can actually see what's kind of going on, right? So you can click on these, and then for some reason this one doesn't have a sight view, but you can tell it to fire. It actually shows you what type of vehicle it is. So you see how there's like planes now, and then you can see the missile going into the target, and then also, you know, what you're firing at. Isn't this just awesome? So yeah, it's really, really cool. You can change the scope scale by clicking it, which is awesome as well. You can obviously just click these buttons too, and then you can, you know, click here to change target. So if you just want to engage all of these guys, you can just do it like this, and you can see all the missiles going out. You'll also be able to see all the missiles going in, and at the same time, while you're in this mode, you can also maneuver your vehicles. So you can be sat here looking at this, and then also you can kind of like move between and do all of the standard actions that you would do when you're outside of the vehicle. So yeah, pretty awesome, right? And this is coming in not just for high-tier vehicles like this, it's also coming into basically everything that has a radar. They're just coming in different ways. So I'll show you it with like another vehicle too. So for example, if we get, I don't know, something like the Roland, which, you know, is obviously not a great AA, but it exists. Anything with a radar gets this. So here you go. This is what the sight view looks like. So you can have a look at that, and it shows you the optics on what it's looking at, and then you can kind of see the target. It's not fully there in terms of like how it's all set up. Oops, I turned off my radar by accident. Let's turn it back on again. And then what you can do is you can change the scope scale. You can lock the targets, which is nice. So lock there. So we should be onto it, and then you can fire the missile at the target too. So yeah, pretty cool, right? Like I think that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen when it comes to an update in War Thunder in terms of the UI. They're fully making it into like an RTS setup, so really cool to see that happening. Now, with some of the higher tier AAs, they've changed the camera position of the claws again, so basically the AMRAAMs that are attached to it. Not a huge difference, like, but at least, you know, it looks a little bit better. The IRIST, the Pantsir, and also stuff like the ZA35 and the CSSA5, they added the AA menu and the vertical view having a max altitude of 12 kilometers, or restricted to it if it had it already. And also the Leopard one, A1A1, L44, they've actually improved something which is surprising because I don't know why this took so long to do, but the L44 now has a better vertical guidance speed. So before it was 4.5 degrees, now it's 7 degrees. Another thing to also mention is basically they changed some sounds. So they gave the Puma the Type 10 sound, which is kind of funny. So if you wander around in it, you'll hear like the sound of the engine, which is good. You know, it's something that I feel like a lot of people enjoy. So it's pretty cool that they've added the sound to these guys. And then also one thing I should note is the Fox and the Scimitar, and also the some other vehicles basically have a new engine sound too. So the Fox, the Scimitar, the AML 90s, and also the Eland, all of these things have a new engine sound. So it actually sounds like an actual car now, which is kind of fun. They did actually modify the Badger quite a lot, so let's have a chat about it. First of all, they added a bunch of random pieces of metal in it. So now there's the rolled homogeneous armor, which is sat here around the vehicle. Also, at the same time, they added 2 millimeters of structural steel spall shields around the ammo in the whole rear. So you can see here that this is like the ammo, but they have just a little bit more protection, which is kind of odd. The vehicle now has more ammo for the gun too, so it has 420 instead of 320. The magazine size is now 70, which is actually a big buff because it means that you don't have to reload as quicker. But unfortunately, the jammed reload speed has gone from 8 seconds to 15 seconds. And also the ammo is obviously more detailed now, since, you know, you have the first stage ammo stowage here. But that's just kind of sucks that, you know, the jammed reload time is longer. But, you know, if you work around it, it should generally be fine. They fixed the Vanguard. Basically, it had a problem with its secondary ammo replenishment. It just wouldn't replenish. Now it does, which is fantastic. And the good old Yamato also has been changed. So what they've done with this thing is 2 of the rangefinders are now for the secondaries. This thing has like 1 million rangefinders, by the way. Like you can see all of them here. The 25mm turrets that were added as secondaries are now AAs, which makes the most sense. And also the secondary ammo has been reorganized, which of course is around here and around this area too. So overall, pretty cool to see what they've done there. The AS-34 missile has also been changed. So the wing area multiplier is now double what it was. They also added sea skimming, and loft was removed from it. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. And at the same time, they have added some new loading screens, which I think is what we'll end up with. So what you have is, first of all, you have the CSSA5, which looks amazing. So this one will be a new loading screen coming in, and finally, like one of the big mainstays of the update, right? Which, you know, not that one, sorry, but the other one, the Yamato. The Yamato is getting a loading screen. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? That's so cool. Like the art for the loading screens is always fantastic, and this one is really nice. So that's all the changes in this update. As I said, they have also added a lot of the camos to these types of vehicles. So you can see here, this is the L39 ZA bicolor one. Unfortunately, I can't show it unless it's that one right there. But they've also added stuff like the F2's camo, which is around 2. Like you have I think it's called like the training squadron camo. which is about, nope, it's not that one. The Test Squadron camo, sorry. But they've added all of these things like into these general vehicles. There you go. This is the Test Squadron camo, but it doesn't show it. So they're in the files. They're nearly ready to go. I'll probably show you them later when they're available. So yeah, everything is really getting to a point where it's coming pretty soon. So look forward to it. And if you have any questions or if you want me to show anything, make sure to stick it in the comments section. Peace be with you. Chat to you soon. Bye-bye. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Warthunder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.